So we've got back to the hostel in San Jose. We're only there for one night. We've read The Lonely Planet. We know that we need to get to the bus station in the morning. We know that that's what we need to do. If we do that, we'll successfully get over to, ideally, we'll successfully get to San Juan del Sur, which is on the Pacific side of Nicaragua. Worst case scenario, you might end up somewhere else. We're relaxing in the hostel, sitting down, reading the book. We've got a beer there, nice, relaxing evening. And a guy walks past us and he said, "Oh, you guys having a good time? Welcome to the hostel," all that sort of stuff. Turns out he was the hostel owner. And he said, "Do you guys like the white powder?" And we said, "Yeah, I like the white powder." And he said, "Well, yeah, come next door. It's my house. There's a few of us going around there. Let's indulge." And this is where, when you make a mistake, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Sometimes greed is good. And we both said, absolutely fine. Yeah, great. Not an issue. Happy days. No problem. Went round to the guy's house. There's about 6 or 7 people there. It's relaxed. It's a very pleasant experience. Again, a couple of people there, a couple of beers. Everyone's having a laugh. And this stuff's gone around. And he was explaining that if you have this stuff, it's incredibly powerful, very potent. You'd be sort of buzzing for days and days and days, sort of hyping it up a little bit. But he also said that there was a sort of almost like a come down drug as well that you could take afterwards. So rather than buzzing for a day or two, you'd be able to, come off the high and, you'd be fine the following day. Bad move. Aaron was a lot more sensible here. He'd had a little bit, a tiny bit, not too much. Me, bit different story. I was just getting straight in thinking, yeah, great, that other thing at the end's going to sort it out. We'll be fine. We'll roll across in the morning. It'll be absolute happy days, no issues. Aaron and a couple of others left the party relatively, I say early in the evening, you're talking about half 11, something like that. And it's me, the hostel guy, the hostel owner, and another guy. And we go on to about 3 o'clock in the morning. We're buzzing. I think we've had a coffee as well at that point, which, again, hindsight, not a good idea. We're all buzzing. The hostel owner then supplies this come down mechanism, and it's almost like a tablet thing from memory. My memory's a bit hazy, but I think it's like a tablet thing. So you take this big glass of water, it will sort of pretty much knock you out straight away, and you wake up in a few hours, job done. So we've all had a good evening. It was all on the house as well, this stuff, by the way. So that was also cool. So we've done that. I done that, stumbled into bed at about bollocks knows what time, about 4 o'clock in the morning, knowing that probably have to be up in a few hours. When I woke up the following day, or later on that day, it was about 11 o'clock, and I felt rough. I felt like arse. It was almost like going back to Nam, almost like going back to Vietnam. Some of the hangovers in Vietnam were incredibly bad, I have to point out. Aaron said he tried waking me up earlier on, and he's normally pretty good at waking people up. Not this time. I was out for the count. So he's a bit pissed off because we said we'd be off out early in the morning to do the border crossings. Always do your border crossings by day, by the way. I think we've said that before. It's important. That way you're in the light, you know what's going on. Your compass mentis, happy days. And then we made a decision, again, in hindsight, we shouldn't have made. It's about 11 o'clock. I'm groggy. He's been up for a few hours. And we said, do we hang up? No. Basically, we need to get out of this place. Don't want to be eating into our budget unnecessarily. We need to get to Nicaragua. We need to get out of this country. Do we do that now, or do we stay for another night? Thanks to Rob, thanks to your stupidity, basically, to have another night at the hostel, laze around for a day, and then do it bright and early in the morning. And for some unknown reason, we decided it was a good idea to get going that day, to head over into Nicaragua. I bear in mind of all the sort of different currencies. At that time, we got rid of the Panamanian, or the Balboas, I think they called it. We had the Costa Rican currency, which it might have been a peso, might be a peso, maybe, or was it a colon? Could have been a colon, a Costa Rican colon. Don't Google that. That will give you a result that you don't need to know. I think it's a Costa Rican colon. Then, of course, if we're heading into Nicaragua, we didn't have Nicaragua currency on us at the time. That was a Cordoba. So quick bite to eat, quick coffee. I'm like absolute arse. You've never seen me look worse in my entire life. Took a cab ride to the bus station. Now, the bus station, there's 2 ways to get into Nicaragua. You can take the Pan American Highway on a more recognisable bus route. Cost a few more dollars. but you're going to get a better service. Or you can do what we done, and again, we're in that mentality of as cheap as possible, we'll deal with it as and when. So we went to the alternate bus station. There was a bus at 12:30, but it wouldn't even get to the border until about 6, half 6. 6 hours to get from San Jose, the capital, just up to the border, by the way, with Nicaragua. So we're in that sort of mindset of, well, let's just get it done. We got on the bus, and of course, as with, wonderful buses, they get delayed every now and then. We didn't get to the border crossing until about 8, 8:30 in the evening. So it took 8 hours eventually. At this time, it's pitch black. We have our bank cards on us. We have no Nicaraguan currency whatsoever. We know if we step across that border into Nicaragua and there's not an ATM, and bear in mind, most of Latin America, with all due respect, is a cash economy. We get across that border with no ATM, pitch black, middle of the night. You're not exactly near a town or anything. You're fucked. We were a bit nervous at this point, and it was at this point I think we realised probably should have stayed the extra night in Costa Rica and just grin and bear it. So we've got off the bus. We're in the Costa Rican side. Thankfully, despite the fact it was night, everything was relatively well lit, and the border crossing itself was hassle-free. Absolute hassle-free. People in Nicaragua, love to see us. Goodbye, Costa Rica. See you later. We've gone straight into Nicaragua. We haven't got much, Costa Rican currency left on us at all, maybe a couple of quid. We're into Nicaragua. Great. Wonderful. You get through the border section. Superb. And we looked around us. I mean, there's naffle. Absolute naffle. To the right of us is a petrol station, which is quite handy, because it also doubles up as, the Nicaraguan border point. So for buses coming and going. So we're there. There's nothing else. Not that we thought, anyway. We've had a look at the petrol station. There's no ATM. There's no buses there either. So there's not really anyone to speak to. A couple of cab drivers have come over to us and said, well, where are you going? We said, well, San Juan del Sur. He said, well, that's $45. We weren't paying $45. Even if it was a 30, 35 kilometre trip, we're still not paying $45. It's late at night. We're quite, maybe not as much. I'm groggy. I'm getting in a foul mood. I'm getting a bit pissed off at various things. This isn't good. We're pretty much stuck at a border in the butt arse of nowhere. There's no ATM. What the fuck's going on? But what we noticed after walking around the petrol station, there was almost like it was like a waiting room just the other side of the road. And we hadn't noticed this as we'd gone through the border. There's a waiting room the other side of the road. And hands down, spoiler alert, the most inconspicuous ATM in the world was located in this waiting room. You had no idea that it was going to be there. And it was not like one of these little shit ones you get in the shop and it costs you like £3 to take your own cash out. It was like from like the National Bank of Nicaragua. We got into this waiting room just to have a look round, and we just saw this ATM. And I think if we could burst out crying then, I think we would have done. But it was almost like, thank God, awesome, this is great, thank you. Next test, does one of our bank cards work to get out some Cordobas or even US dollars? Thankfully, the cash machine provided both. So we stocked up a little bit on US dollars and we stocked up a bit on Cordobas as well. That's one panic over. So we're now, I don't know, this is maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock in the evening. We're still at the border. We've now got cash, which is nice, but we've now got to debate where we need to go. Because ideally we want to go to San Juan del Sur, but we're being too tight. We're not paying $45 for, a taxi ride to San Juan del Sur. That just eats into, budget for 3 days. This bus pulls up. This bus has come across from the border in Costa Rica and has pulled up. He's at the petrol station, and the bus driver's filling up with petrol. So we've walked across, and in the best Spanish that we could muster up, it's like, look, we don't have transport. We've just got a bus to the border. We're trying to get to San Juan del Sur. Are you going there? And the bus driver basically said, no, I'm not going there. I'm going to, I think he was ended up, I've got a feeling the bus driver was doing one of these really long journeys. He was ended up going to like Guatemala or something like that. But he said, no, I'm going to Granada. Yeah, Nicaragua. I'm going to Granada and then Managua. I was like, okay, well, how much to Granada? He's like $12. So Aaron and I just looked at each other and said, well, look, we haven't really got an option here. We either spend, if we go to Granada, we're going to have to come back down on ourselves anyway, because we want to go to San Juan del Sur because it's highly recommended. We're either going to come back down there and then go back on ourselves again. It is what it is. It is what it is. We have to grin and bear it. We have to deal with it. And the fact that the bus driver is saying it's only $12 up to Granada. I mean, it's a lot, it's better. So we've got on the bus. We're thankful we're on the bus. There's about an hour's kip here that we're going to have. We're relieved more than anything else that we've managed to get on some public transport, managed to pretty much get up to Granada. It's meant to be a lovely place anyway, good times. We got on the bus and we were sat down, and again, very thankful for this. The guy behind us, who turned out to be, he was a Spaniard from Extremadura, however you want to pronounce it. He was listening in on our conversation, and he said, "Oh, you're off to Granada as well? I'm off to Granada. How about, I've got a couple of hostels that we can go to. Do you want to split a room for the night?" Yeah, great, no problem at all. So in a nutshell, got off the bus in Granada, took a cab straight away to the hostel, because even he said, the Spaniard said, "I've been here before. The bus doesn't drop you off in a great place. Let's get a cab straight away, straight up to the hostel." And thankfully, two things happened here. Number one, the best night's sleep I think I've ever, because I was still hanging from the night before. Number two, probably the best beer I think I've ever had in my life. Just given the stress of the day and everything in the last 24 hours. Best tasting beer, best night's sleep ever. Thankfully, miracle or not, the hostel that we'd ended up going to had a triple room as well. So the Spaniard, Aaron and myself, same room, happy days, absolute lights out for me. I quickly downed beer and I was gone for about 12 hours when I laid down. And we'd made it. We finally made it into Nicaragua. We made it to Granada, not where we intended on going, but hey ho, we'd ended up here. And the following morning, we did say that when it comes down to border crossings, when it comes down to things like that, if we know we're going to be crossing the border, let's be compass mentors. Let's not fuck around. Basically, let's make sure that the night before we're not being stupid, and we'll be absolutely fine. Of course, that went out the window in about 2 weeks' time. That will go out the window in about 2 weeks' time. But we made it to Granada, most dangerous border crossing in the world because of our own stupidity, without a shadow of a doubt. We got very lucky that day. We got very lucky that we got across the border okay. We got very lucky that that bus had turned up. If that bus hadn't have turned up, I think we'd have been a bit screwed. We'd have probably had to eat into our budget and go to a different place at a higher cost. Thirdly, very lucky there was an ATM at that border crossing. Incredibly lucky for all those three things. So very grateful when we look back on that. But no more dodgy border crossings for a week or so, for a couple of weeks. Join us in the next episode where we will be starting to go through the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful country that is Nicaragua. Hasta luego.